The first map of everything. The oldest known burial site on Earth contains red ochre, not tools, not food, not weapons, just pigment deliberately placed on a body 300,000 years ago in a cave in Morocco, as if someone believed the color of blood could do something useful in the dark. That act requires a theory of the world, not a written one, not an articulated one, but a working model of reality in which death is not simply an end, in which matter can carry meaning, in which the living have obligations to something beyond the living. Whoever placed that ochre had already answered, in their own way, the largest question a mind can hold. What is this place and what are we supposed to do inside it? The answer they arrived at was not primitive, it was structural. Cognitive archaeologists use the term cosmology carefully. It doesn't mean religion, exactly. It doesn't mean myth. It means the operating framework through which a mind organizes existence, cause and effect, the boundaries of the world, the relationship between the visible and the invisible. Every functioning human brain builds one. The question is only how far back that construction goes. The evidence suggests, further than we assumed, at Blombos Cave in South Africa, ochre pieces engraved with deliberate geometric patterns date to 75,000 years ago. The patterns are not random, they repeat. Repetition implies rule. Rule implies a system. A system implies someone who believes the world is the kind of place that has systems, that it can be read, mapped, and perhaps negotiated with. At Lascaux, France, in 1940, 4 teenagers stumbled into a cave and found 600 paintings and nearly 1,500 engravings made roughly 17,000 years ago. The images include horses, aurochs, deer, but also abstract symbols, grids, dots, lines. In 2021, researcher Luz Antequera Congregado published analysis suggesting some configurations map lunar cycles. The cave may not have been a gallery, it may have been a calendar, a record of the world's rhythm kept in permanent pigment so the rhythm would not be forgotten. So when we look at these images and see art, we are misreading them. They don't read as decoration, they read as infrastructure. The pre-modern human mind appears to have organized the world along a consistent axis, above and below. Ethnographic records of contemporary hunter-gatherer societies, the San of the Kalahari, the Yolngu of northern Australia, the Ashuar of the Amazon, converge on a structure that anthropologists call the three-tiered cosmos: sky world, surface world, underworld. The living occupy the middle. The dead, the powerful, and the dangerous occupy the edges. This structure is not universal because it was transmitted. It is near universal because it follows from the actual phenomenology of being alive in a landscape without artificial light. The sky moves, the ground holds still. Something is beneath the ground because seeds go into it and return transformed, and the dead go into it and do not return at all. These are not metaphors, they are observations. The cosmology grew directly from what the body experienced, and then something shifts. Around 40,000 years ago, during what archaeologists call the Upper Paleolithic transition, the archaeological record changes in a way that still resists complete explanation. Symbolic objects multiply. Long-distance trade networks appear, meaning shells found hundreds of kilometers from any coast. Musical instruments, bone flutes, emerge. Burial becomes more elaborate. Bodies are placed with deliberate orientation, often east-west, tracking the path of the sun. The world, it seems, became directional. It had an axis, it had a motion. The humans living through this period were not simply surviving inside a landscape, they were oriented within a cosmos. The neurological machinery behind this is partially understood. The human brain contains what researchers call the default mode network, a system that activates specifically when the mind is not focused on an immediate task. It runs simulations, it projects the self into other times, other places, other minds. It asks, what happens next? What happened before? What does the other person know that I don't? This is the architecture of narrative. It is also the architecture of cosmology. A mind that can model other minds can model the world as if it has intentions. A mind that can project itself into the future can ask what the future is for. These are not spiritual leaps. They are cognitive extensions of the same machinery that lets you predict whether a predator is going to turn left or right. The ancient mind was not doing something different from the modern mind. It was applying the same tool to a larger problem. What the data cannot settle is whether those ancient humans believed what they were doing or whether belief is even the right word. When a sand shaman enters trance and travels to the spirit world to negotiate for rain, he is not performing a metaphor. The journey is real within his operating framework. The question of whether the framework corresponds to anything outside itself is one that his framework and ours may be equally unequipped to answer. The ochre in that Moroccan cave was not decoration. It was not waste. It was placed by someone who understood that the world required something from them, that existence had a structure, and the structure had demands, and the color of blood was one way to meet them. We have better instruments now. We have particle accelerators and genome sequencers and telescopes that see the edges of the observable universe. Our cosmology is larger than theirs by every measurable dimension. The question that stays open is whether it is any less a map and whether we are any more certain than they were that we are standing at the center of it.